Chris Arps, how you doing?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
You know what? I bet you I could probably tell Don Calloway's talking points, even though I didn't see the interview.
Yeah.
But it's because we're not spending enough money in the inner cities, and he probably used the line where we have our budget priorities tells what kind of society we want to be, and we're not putting enough resources in that community. And instead of putting money in schools, we're putting the money into prisons and spending money there. And it would be much more fruitful if we spend it there instead of eventually putting these.
Did you write his talking points?
But
you know what they are, don't you? Listen real quick.
St. Louis for the last 60 years has made decisions that now result in the city contracting as opposed to the city expanding. St. Louis is
a lot
not
of Democrats who run St. Louis.
Well,
right? We got Democrat rule for a long, long time.
I think that those of us who participate in the public sphere,
yeah,
we owe it to give a thoughtful answer about criminal histories and the real policies of regionalism that have hurt St. Louis and now contracted. Those policies have created more poverty. They're not Democratic or Republican, but they're poor urban planning.
Yeah, but don't you want? I mean,
poverty is
kick out the people who aren't giving you the solutions.
Poverty is a rural issue as well.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's regionalism that's causing the problem.
And
that's the merger talk again. Don Calloway got on national television last night and basically blamed the fact that the city and county haven't merged, the regionalism that takes money away from the city. Whereas if we were all one big happy family, the city would be fat and happy, filled with everybody else's tax money to throw at what they think is going to fix their problem. That's the bottom. That's exactly what it is.
And he deflected, as they always do, because I've had debates with people on social media. It's like, how can you blame Republicans for the problems in St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, all of these cities that have been ran by Democrats for generations, all of these crumbling school systems that have been run for Democrats for generations? It's all on your lap. This is your party. You can't not blame Republicans for that.
No, but it got better than that. So this is pretty funny. So I don't disagree, and I've had this conversation with Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, and I had this conversation when we had Charlie Tuna on here recently for the Bottom Line. I don't disagree that there are a lot of socioeconomic factors that go into the crime problem, and that the entire solution is not just arrest everybody and throw them in jail. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But this crime problem didn't just happen yesterday, and it didn't just happen 5 years ago. Yeah. It's been going on for 35 or 40 years, and one party's been in charge that whole time, and their solutions have never worked. But today, you know who they want to blame? Governor Greitens. I'm not kidding you. Don Calloway got on national television last night and said the problem is a Republican governor. Wait for it.
At the end of the day, St. Louis has a crumbling public education system. It has a crumbling corporate.
How about fatherlessness?
It has a crumbling corporate infrastructure.
How about family?
It has family issues.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it has all of the systemic and endemic issues that contribute to poverty. Poverty is the father of crime, and we won't see crime reduced by having more police on the street.
What's your answer for poverty? We had 8 years of Obama, 2 incredible terms under.
You brought up President Obama more than one time.
Because Democrats. I bring it up because he's like almost on Mount Rushmore for most Democrats.
And he should be, but President Obama saw 80 months.
What did he do for St. Louis?
President Obama saw 80 months of consecutive job growth.
But what happened to St. Louis? What happened there?
What happened to St. Louis is the same thing that's happened to Washington, D.C., where we live. It's the same thing that's happened to New Orleans and New York City.
Democrat,
to the street.
Democrat, run by Democrats.
Controlled by Republican governors.
How can you?
Greitens has been governor for 6 months.
For 6 months. Prior to that, you had 2 terms of Jay Nixon. You had 1 term of Blunt, and then prior to that, you had 2 terms of Mel Carnahan. We've had
Holden,
Holden.
Yeah.
We've had Democratic governors for the last 15 or 20 years.
So don't blame the Democrats that have been running the city. Blame the fact that in the past 15 years we've had a couple of Republican governors. That must be the reason that we're having problems. It's like talking in a circle. You can't. I think that's the reason that some of the liberals in the city feel so threatened. There are some of them I've heard won't come on this program. And the thing about it is, you either have the strength of your convictions, or you'd rather sit in a vacuum and argue your point with other people that agree with you and you can't defend your principles. That's the only thing it can come down to.
I think that's part of it, Mark, because you're known as the Chris Wallace of St. Louis Interview. Mike Wallace
whatever.
of St. Louis Interview.
Yeah, that's it.
But I think a big part of it also is they're worried about what their colleagues would say coming on this radical right-wing radio show.
What's the problem with you? Either believe in what you believe in or you don't. Come on here and defend the fact that when we have to listen to Laura Ingraham sit on a national program and say these words.
In St. Louis, America's deadliest city.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the first thing Callaway brings up is regionalism. Well, the problem is regionalism. We're cash strapped in the city. Regionalism is the problem that we're having here.
And then it was kind of deft how he said, poverty is rural also. So he kind of throwing that.
Yeah. And most of those rural areas vote Republican. Is what he was claiming. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Wow. Minimum wage, real quick, before we get to some of the other topics we were going to talk about. This Save the Raise thing, they're trumpeting this. All my liberal friends that I know on Twitter and all this are blasting this out here. Greatest thing I've seen today. All these companies are going to voluntarily keep their wages up where they had to falsely inflate them to. But then you read the story and you find out that they're only doing so under threat of protest and boycotts if they don't.
The heavy hand of the government. I think, what was the gentleman's name that they were trying to nominate for labor secretary? Andy Pudzer.
Oh, Pudzer, yeah, from Hardee's.
He was leading this among other fast food restaurants, that this $15 an hour and all this living wage nonsense is all it is hastening of bringing kiosks where people are just going to order through kiosk, or they're going to order through apps, or what I've seen actual burger flipping machines that have just replaced the cooks. So, they can go on this and say, hey, we want $15 an hour. We want these people to live well and all that. But all they're doing is just putting these folks out of business. And with the Kansas City thing, even though the state has said they can't do this, I think they just want to have some type of victory to show that the legislature is against the will of the people, because the city of Kansas City wants this. Look how mean and evil the Republican legislature and governor is. So I think they're going to try to use this for a PR victory more than anything.
This is on the hashtag is Save the Raise. They've got a list of the companies that have agreed to keep their wage wherever they raised it to a couple months ago before the legislature overruled them. I would say it's a handy list. You should print this out for these. They claim there's 100 companies on here. I don't know if I didn't count them all. You should print this out and post it inside of your back door. And before you get ready to go out to dinner, you should look up and see if the restaurant you're going to is on here, because coincidentally, their prices are going to be going up, just so you're aware of that.
And just think of the residual damages of this. Is one, since Obamacare has not been eliminated, these companies, if they have over 50 employees, have to pay health insurance to these employees.
Or they've only got 48 employees.
Exactly.
Now. Yeah.
Or one, the sales tax has gone up to 10%. So that's an extra tax that they're just going to pass on to the consumer. And then this, with the added money for the minimum wage.
Right.
It's just a tax.
They attacked who?
A tax.
Oh, a tax. Oh, A-T-A-X. I see what you're saying.
You're saying I'm saying Ebonics or something?
Not at all. I did want to point out what's going to happen in the city here shortly, and we're going to have to get to a break. But, of course, Prop P passed in the county, and I've heard somebody suggest now that the county was trying to get a pot of money out there, because eventually if they get this merger pushed through, they're going to need that money when they merge the police departments and all this other stuff they're going to say is for public safety. The city is going to put a tax on to try to another half cent or something sales tax to try to raise money for their police. The city's effective sales tax rate is going to be almost 10%. So a dime of every dollar you spend will cost you an extra dime in the city of St. Louis, which is going to be one of the highest taxes, certainly in the state, maybe in the middle of the country.
And what we're going to find, as we find in all of these taxes, that yes, they may gain some added revenue, but it's never going to add up to what they're forecasting. I'll make that bet with you right now. It's not going to add up to what they're forecasting it to be.
I think you're absolutely right. All right, we'll get to a break.